These fun realities approximately from everything from the universe to the inward workings of your body will blow your mind. Number 1. Abraham Lincoln's bodyguard left his post at Ford's Theater to go for a drink. You already know that Abraham Lincoln was shot and killed by John Wilkes Booth while watching a performance at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., on April 14, 1865. But what you might not have been aware of is that the president had a bodyguard named John Frederick Parker with him on that fateful night, according to Smithsonian Magazine. Unfortunately, Parker was a police officer with a less than stellar reputation. After arriving 3 hours late for his shift, the officer left his post protecting the president to get a drink at the Star Saloon next door to the theater. It was during this time that Booth entered the box seats where Lincoln was sitting and shot the president. Number 2. Dolphins have been trained to be used in wars. Dolphins are known widely as adorable, intelligent animals. What is not as widely known is that these crafty creatures were used by the US and Soviet Union during the Vietnam War and the Cold War. Both countries studied the creatures for their sonar capabilities, but also trained them to detect mines, bring equipment to divers, find lost equipment, and guard submarines amongst other nifty tricks. Number 3. Playing the accordion was once required for teachers in North Korea. The most popular instrument in North Korea is the accordion, so much so that all teachers used to be required to play to get their teaching certifications. Because the accordion is portable in a way that, say, a grand piano isn't, it was thought of as the people's instrument, that could be taken outside and played for laborers in the fields. Number 4. Children's medicine once contained morphine. If you were a baby in the middle of the 1800s and you cried while teething, your parents might have given you Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup. This medicine claimed that it soothes the child, it softens the gums, and allays all pain. It may have done plenty of soothing, but it was also extremely dangerous. This concoction, like many patent medicines of the time, contained morphine. Number 5. Plastic Easter eggs and plastic Easter grass were invented by a man who holds more patents than Thomas Edison. If you've ever enjoyed an Easter basket with plastic eggs and grass, then you can thank Donald Weider, the man who invented both. Weider not only holds the patents on these holiday staples, he also holds a total of 1,413 U.S. patents, including ones for water-based inks, flower pot covers, and decorative wrappers. That's compared to Thomas Edison, who held just 1,093 U.S. patents. Number 6. Water makes different pouring sounds depending on its temperature. If you listen very closely, hot water and cold water sound slightly different when being poured. The heat changes the thickness, or viscosity, of the water, which changes the pitch of the sound it makes when it's poured. What we feel as heat comes from the molecules of the water moving faster. Cold water is thicker and therefore makes a slightly higher pitched sound. Number 7. Most laughter isn't because things are funny. Every culture in the world laughs, but surprisingly, most of our laughter isn't necessarily a response to humor. Less than 20% of laughter comes after jokes, according to neuroscientist Robert Provini. The rest is a reaction to regular statements and questions like, "How have you been?" The ensuing laughter, however brief, helps form social bonds since people who laugh together grow closer. Number 8. One man has saved more than 200 people from suicide. It's a sad fact the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco is a site where many suicides take place. However, one California Highway Patrol officer has done more to combat this problem than any other individual. Officer Kevin Briggs, who battles depression himself, has personally talked more than 200 people down from the proverbial ledge throughout his career. After retiring in 2013, Briggs wrote a book called Guardian of the Golden Gate and now goes on speaking tours to encourage public discussion of suicide and mental illness. Number 9. Our European ancestors were cannibals. In 16th and 17th century Europe, cannibalism was actually a fairly common practice, and it was all for medical purposes. The practice seems to have started because Egyptian mummies were thought to have magical curative properties, so they were ground up and put in many remedies. As the idea evolved, human bone, blood, and fat were all used in medical concoctions. Got a headache? crush a skull and make it into tea. While medical cannibalism has fallen out of favor, modern medicine still sometimes uses one human body to heal another in the form of blood donations, organ transplants, and skin grafts. Number 10. Dogs actually understand some English. Some owners of disobedient dogs may have trouble believing this, but dogs can learn to recognize a vocabulary of about 165 words. Unsurprisingly, dogs respond best to short words, as well as words with hard consonants like T or R, which may explain why they can hear treat from 3 rooms away. If you want to try to expand your dog's vocabulary, be consistent. For example, always call a meal dinner instead of breakfast, lunch, or supper. And don't believe the myth. Old dogs can learn words just as well as young dogs. Number 11. You have a nail in your body. Or, at least, the components of one. Iron is an important nutrient that the human body needs. It helps your red blood cells carry oxygen, which is necessary for producing energy throughout the body. That's why an iron deficiency can present itself with feelings of exhaustion. Amazingly, a healthy adult has about 3 grams of iron, enough that, if it were pulled out and melted down. Number 12. Redheads aren't actually going extinct. Periodically, a rumor starts on the internet that says natural redheads will become extinct by the year 2060. Lucky for gingers everywhere, this is a myth. It's true that the gene that causes red hair is recessive, meaning that both parents must have it for their child to have red hair. However, even non-redheads can carry the red hair gene, and it can pop up unexpectedly in generations down the line. Number 13. Pro baseball once had women players. While there are currently no female players in Major League Baseball, there have been plenty of women in professional men's leagues. The first was Lizzie Arlington, who pitched during the 9th inning for the Reading Coal Heavers in 1898 and won her team the game. A little over 30 years later, an African-American woman, Jackie Mitchell, pitched against the Yankees during an exhibition game, striking out both Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. What's more impressive? Mitchell was 17 years old at the time. Number 14. Koalas have fingerprints. Chimpanzees and gorillas have human-like fingerprints, and so do koalas. In fact, koala prints are very similar to human fingerprints, even to expert crime scene investigators. As of yet, no koalas have framed humans for their crimes, but now we know it's not impossible. Number 15. Humans are just one of the estimated 8.7 million species on Earth. Human beings may dominate the planet with our sprawling cities and far-reaching technology, but we are, in fact, just one species among some 8.7 million that live together on planet Earth. One 2011 study published in the journal PLOS Biology estimated that the various forms of life on the planet included 7.8 million species of animals, 298,000 species of plants, 611,000 species of mushrooms, mold and other fungi, 36,400 species of protozoa, and 27,500 species of algae or chromists. And it's worth noting that the researchers did not venture to put an estimate on the number of bacteria. Number 16. Riding a roller coaster could help you pass a kidney stone. After multiple people reported they had passed a kidney stone while riding Walt Disney World's Big Thunder Mountain Railroad ride, a research team from Michigan State University decided to investigate the phenomena in 2016. They conducted tests with a model kidney and found that there was a 64% kidney stone pass rate for those seated in the rear of the Thunder Mountain ride. That number was just 16% for those seated in the front. Number 17. Dinosaurs lived on every continent. Back in their day, dinosaurs lived on every continent on Earth, including Antarctica. The reason we only find their bones in certain places, though, is that weather and soil conditions in those places were just right for the bones to be fossilized. Scientists also speculate that there may be many smaller-sized dinosaurs that we know nothing about because their bones were too small to fossilize well. Number 18. Bee hummingbirds are so small they get mistaken for insects. Hummingbirds are known for being itty-bitty creatures, but bee hummingbirds are the teeniest versions of these shockingly tiny flyers. They're actually the smallest bird in the world. They are so minuscule that they are sometimes mistaken for insects, which explains their name, according to the National Audubon Society. The birds are just 2¼ inches long and weigh less than a dime. Number 19. Sea lions can dance to a beat. There are only 2 mammals on Earth with the proven ability to move their bodies in time with an external beat. Humans, though not all humans, to be fair, and sea lions. When researchers at the University of Santa Cruz rescued a stranded sea lion in 2013, they found that she was very smart, and she was even able to learn how to dance. Though parrots can also keep a rhythm, it was previously thought that only animals capable of complex vocal learning could do this. Number 20. Rolls-Royce makes the most expensive car in the world. Currently, the most expensive car in the world is a Rolls-Royce Sweptail that sold for $13 million. However, even if you have that kind of dough lying around, you won't be able to buy it. Only one was made, and it was custom-built from the ground up according to the buyer's specifications. But brand-new custom cars have nothing on used classics. The recent sale of a 1963 Ferrari GTO for $70 million is supposedly the highest price ever paid for a car. Number 21. The famed Typhoid Mary infected more than 50 people by cooking for them. Typhoid Mary was a real historical person who became notorious in the early 1900s. She was an Irish woman named Mary Mallon who immigrated to the United States in the 1880s. Though she had no symptoms of typhoid fever, she carried the bacteria in her blood and could pass it on to other people. Because no doctor could convince her that this was true and she didn't feel sick, she insisted on working as a cook. During her career, she infected at least 51 people, 3 of whom died, before she was isolated in enforced quarantine for the last decades of her life. Number 22. The legend of the Loch Ness Monster goes back nearly 1,500 years. There's a tale written in the year 565 AD that speaks of an Irish monk traveling through Scotland. While there, St. Columba heard stories of a water beast that attacked and killed the local people when they went in the river. Wanting to help, the monk used his friend as bait to lure the beast into sight, at which point Columba commanded it to go no further, and the creature stopped and swam back upstream. That river is now known in Scotland as the River Ness, which flows out from the famous Loch Ness. Number 23. Nutmeg can be fatally poisonous. A little dash of nutmeg in a pumpkin pie or on your eggnog can give it some extra flavor and a lovely, spicy scent. Too much nutmeg, however, can be toxic. 2 to 3 teaspoons of raw nutmeg can induce hallucinations, convulsions, pain, nausea, and paranoia that can last for several days. Actual fatalities are rare, but they have happened. Number 24. Chinese police use geese squads. You've heard of police dogs, but police geese? As of 2013, 12 police stations in a rural area of China have begun to use geese as sentries. They are alert animals and, as you probably know, can create a lot of noise and commotion, which creative Chinese law enforcement officers are taking advantage of. While this trend has yet to spread throughout China, Dongguan police claim that the geese have already stopped at least one theft. Number 25. The first iPhone wasn't made by Apple. The first mobile device to be called an iPhone was made by Cisco, not Apple. It allowed the user to use the voice functions of Skype without a computer. Apple announced its own product just 22 days later, and Cisco sued for trademark infringement. The lawsuit was ultimately settled out of court and both companies were allowed to keep using the name. However, you've probably never heard of the Cisco iPhone. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.